Welcome to the Western Mystery School. You have stepped inside, and here we are in the Western Mystery tradition, this ancient tradition which has many branches, and this is one of the branches in which we are studying the Kabbalistic Tarot. And I will say at this moment that Kabbalistic tarot is not tarot in general. Tarot is not tarot. A tarot deck has the same layout in general, but Kabbalistic tarot is based inside the Western mystery tradition, inside the tree of life, and that sets it apart. So it's the tree of life inside the Western mystery tradition, and it's got a very particular form and structure, and the tarot cards fit on the tree of life. Okay, so that's just a very tiny bit of background information. The Kabbalistic tarot, which tarot of the spirit is, basically consists of flashcards. The tarot cards are flashcards of knowledge in the Western mystery tradition, and they all fit on the tree of life. So they're flashcards of the tree of life. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about soul retrieval. So this is soul retrieval and tarot. There are two other videos that go with this one. The first one, which if you can watch them in order, this would be really good. The first one is 2024, the year of strength. This one, soul retrieval, which is background information on retrieval. And then the third one is called soul retrieval, the spirit journey. And in that one, we will take a deep journey, a guided meditation, and we will work with the guided meditation and the tarot. Okay, so this one is a background on soul retrieval. Okay, next slide. Kabbalistically and inside this is related to the priestess. This is a journey related to the priestess who is holding the book of life. So this is the tarot card, the high priestess. She's holding the book of life, which is the Akashic records. She essentially is pointing to your name, and she's saying, okay, who are you? What did you come in with? What are you here to be, to do, to become, all of that. So each of us come in with unique talents, unique visions, unique missions, passions, and possibilities. And all of this creates our vital essence. It's who we're becoming. I worked in birth for many years, and for over a decade, I was completely immersed every single day in birth, the world of birth. And I can tell you, for a fact, babies do not come in as blank slates. They do not. Within minutes after they're born, we are born. We can start to demonstrate personality, and our way of becoming is going to become clear. Okay, so here we come with our vital essence, our talents, our visions, our missions. Okay, and then next slide. And then what happens is we can get hurt, we can get stopped, we can get interrupted. So these drawings, I have a few drawings here these are drawings by my mother, Joyce Eakins. These are, she does life drawing, and that's one of her major specialties that she has done for many years. So I just used her life drawings to demonstrate. So here we can become wounded, we can become interrupted, and I chose the 5 of Wind card in the throat area, and the 5 of Wind card is fear. Okay, something can happen to us, And then we can become afraid to speak our truth. That would be an example of something that happens. Our way becomes blocked. Trauma happens. Trauma and stress lodge in our body, mind, heart, and spirit. And most of us experience trauma somewhere along the way. Okay, next slide. The tower, which I also placed on the body. Trauma can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. And it can result in disempowerment, a feeling that we are becoming disempowered. Something's coming apart, something's coming down. We become fragmented. We experience something that feels like a loss of soul, like a piece of ourself is removed from ourselves, or we can no longer access that. PTSD, and all of this results in a feeling of diminished vital essence. We're not whole anymore. Something happens and we don't feel whole. Okay, next slide. So I decided just for this particular slideshow to put this into a little story of Adam and Eve, just to understand how far back this experience goes within us. Okay, so Eve's soul loss, 5 of fire, struggle. So Eve, the story about Eve is she winds up with this conflicted spirit, and there's some kind of an implosion and explosion from something that she does that she winds up getting expelled for. I'll just put it that way. She gets expelled, pushed out. And the sense that maybe something is lost there. And so I use the cards 5 of fire, struggle, to represent that. And I also put that in her throat area. The throat, by the way, is related to the high priestess, but it could be anywhere in our body that our loss shows up. Okay, in the next slide. Okay, Adam's soul loss. And here I put 5 of water, spilling. This is actually a card that is about the heart. It is about the emotions. And so here's another place we lose our soul. We experience a sense of loss. We experience a sense of grief, or we experience a broken heart, what feels like a broken heart. And everybody keep in mind, this is just an introduction right now that I'm talking about. I'm just skimming, because you'll be able to take this and take it much deeper for yourself. Okay, next slide. These are the symptoms of soul loss. When we feel illness, we feel a sense of shock, we feel disconnected. Disconnect is probably the biggest one. From my work with people, disconnect is huge. A feeling like I'm not connecting in, I'm not belonging, I'm not part of what's happening. Okay, a memory gap often accompanies this. We can't remember something that happened. Dissociation, where we actually remove ourselves from it. A feeling of depression or dispiritedness, a spiritual crisis in some way, a dark night of the soul. That's like feeling like you're falling into the abyss, like we're falling into the abyss. And this can all result in something like substance abuse, some addiction, some form of addiction, or numbing out, wanting to numb out in some way or other. And the addiction can be either sort of on a minor level, or it can be on a major level. Of what we do or forget about this loss that we feel. Okay, next slide. So here's Adam, Eve, the tree, the snake. These are some of the players. We have carried this concept of soul loss or fragmentation with us as a species for a very long time and as individuals. And then Paul Case, who is a teacher in the Western mystery tradition, actually, he's no longer on the planet, but he was one of my teachers, Paul Case. Wise art thou, says Paul, wise art thou if thou knowest that the subtle serpent of temptation is in truth the anointed one who bringeth thee to liberation. And what that means is that the serpent, who is the temptation that we go after, and sometimes that's what feels like it creates the soul loss for a while, okay, is the anointed one, because what's going to happen is when we follow this these sensibilities that we have that take us into places that maybe later we regret or something like that, as it turns out, interestingly, those things are going to wind up growing us the most, growing our soul the most. It's a very strange phenomenon. That is if we seek to grow the soul. Okay, so next slide. The tree of soul, or the tree of knowledge, or that tree that the snake was in the garden, goes way back in our consciousness. So this is a picture of the tree of soul from ancient Egypt. All that is of spirit, heart, mind, and body has been said to emerge from and as the cosmic tree of life. And it's also called the tree of knowledge and the tree of soul. Okay, next slide. The tree of soul. So consciousness evolves as a tree of soul. And what that means is our very consciousness branches, grows, leaves out, keeps leafing out, keeps branching, and our soul keeps branching and branching and branching. As an archetypal image, says Carl Jung, the symbol of the tree has undergone changes of meaning throughout the centuries. As a whole, however, the tree is associated with growth, protection, life, unfolding of form, old age, personality, death, and rebirth. All of those things associated with the tree as it grows up and keeps branching. Okay, next slide. The tree of life and the tree of soul are also known as a depiction or a metaphor for the unfolding cosmos. And it is said, especially in the Western mystery tradition, that we contain the unfolding cosmos and the tree of life and the tree of soul. We contain all that, even as we are that. We are the tree of life within ourselves, and we are the body of the cosmos unfolding. Okay, next slide. The tree of life and soul, unfolding virtues, vices, and ancestry. Okay, so we not only are that, which is the tree of life walking, the tree of soul walking, but within that, and literally within every cell of our body, we contain the DNA, which is the unfolding tree of life of our ancestors. So we can contain our ancestral past, and we contain the descendants of the future, the ancestors of the future. That's what I was going to say, but it is all true. It keeps unfolding. By the way, it doesn't have to be only DNA or biological soul that we contain and this lineage. It can also be the lineage of spirit, lineage of heart or emotion, and intellectual lineage. So, any of that kind of lineage, we can contain spirit, heart, mind, and body. And from any of those lineages, we can become in some way wounded. We can become empowered, but we can also become wounded from lineage, like from our ancestral line, or from maybe some tradition we're born into or something like that, that can later become something that is wounding or fragmenting for us. Okay, next slide. The tree of life and the soul is the human body. So I was saying we contain this in our body. The individual is also seen as the tree of life that is rooted in heaven and earth. And what that means is that we are rooted in the cosmos, that's heaven, rooted in the cosmos because the whole life cycle is built into this cosmic reality. We are also rooted in the earth, and that's what we come up out of on this planet. And within that, we contain the whole, or maybe not the whole, but a huge portion, if you will, of cosmic consciousness. Because whatever exists in the cosmos also exists in us because we are the cosmos unfolding. And it is said that as individuals, we evolve as universal soul, and we also, excuse me, we also evolve universal soul. So as we are evolving our own soul, the soul of this cosmic world, this cosmic universe also evolves. So it's both individual and collective. Okay, next slide. So here is where tarot comes in with regard to the cosmic soul. So the cosmic soul and its countless manifestations comes into fruition and evolves within and outside of ourselves. Okay, so tarot represents these concepts. It's like leaves on the tree. It represents 78 aspects of evolving soul that are growing on the tree of life. Okay, so it's only 78, and of the leaves on the tree, there are countless. But the tarot is 78 leaves on the tree of life, and it says holographic on the side, 78 holographic aspects. That's because each tarot card contains a concept that it is conveying, but at the same time, it's holographic because within each card is the entire tree and all consciousness. And yet it specializes in one area of consciousness, exactly like we ourselves contain the whole of the species and so on, but we tend to have a particular calling. So each one of us is specialized, even though we contain the whole tree. Okay, and same with the tarot cards. Each tarot card is specialized, even though it contains the whole tree. And it's only 78 cards, but the amazing aspect of these cards is that they have been refined and refined and refined over a long period of time, so that the particular cards and what they represent have become very important, or they're recognized as very important repeating ideas in our own consciousness. So when we work with these cards, we are wielding our own consciousness, or the consciousness of our species. You know, it's a base 10. We're wielding the base 10 number system, which is now planetary, planet-wide, the base 10 system. And we are also wielding the basic shamanic elements worldwide, which are fire, water, air, and earth. That's what the tarot is composed of. So it's fire, water, air, and earth as the basic components and elements of human consciousness in terms of what the world is composed of, and a 1 through 10 sequence, which is the basis of all of world math at this point in time. It's the basis of the way that we think and the unfolding of our universe. So this is the tarot. Okay, next slide. Also, the tree of life, as they say, overlays and lives within our body. Okay, and this is basically, so we're looking at the tree of life, we're looking at the Da Vinci drawing of the body, and then we're looking at the tree of life and the way that the tree of life overlays the body. We become the holographic tree ourselves. We are the walking tree of life. And I'm not going to go into every this right now because that would take too long, but I want you to know that the Western Mystery School conveys this idea that we are the walking tree of life. It exists outside of us, it exists within us, and its evolutionary process in our own soul exists within us. And I want to say that in our branch of the Western Mystery School, which is Pacific Mystery School, we are backing into the tree of life so that I can't go into this right now, but the female pillar will be on our right, the male pillar will be on our left, and the middle pillar then in the middle. So sometimes that is reversed in other mystery schools, but with the Western mystery tradition, that instead of backing in, you're looking at it like a mirror. So sometimes that differentiates. The amazing thing about it, though, is all of the many branches of the Western mystery tradition all have the same tree of life, essentially, as the functioning of the human body. So to me, it's more interesting that that is a fact than whether it's the way we're using it right now or reversed. Okay, so tree of life overlays and lives within our body. Okay, so if you know that, if you had a problem in some part of your body, you could look at the tree of life and see where it's positioned. And this is a sketch right here, but there's much information about this on the internet, for example. Okay, next slide. Okay, the Kabbalistic Tarot of the Spirit is a template of consciousness as the tree of soul. And this is the lightning snake. It's called the Serpent of Wisdom. And the Serpent of Wisdom wraps through the entire tree of life. And this represents traveling through all the worlds, the layers of consciousness. All the worlds is the going deep into the ground, the underground, the abyss, the waking consciousness. So the abyss is also related to the subconscious, waking consciousness and super consciousness, higher consciousness. The snake represents all of this crawling up the tree, down the tree, under the ground. So the snake is considered to be this magical creature. And we also know the snake from way back in the Garden of Eden, and it's still with us as the magical creature. So this is the snake, the lightning snake, wrapping through the whole tarot of the spirit, basically knowing all the pieces and bringing them all together. Okay, and representing shedding the old skin and then emerging in new with each stage of consciousness we go through, that where we're learning and learning. Okay, next slide. Strength, the power to heal. Of all of the cards, strength is probably the card that is most associated with the healing process. And it's a very alchemical process, adding a little of this on one side, adding a little of this on the other side, taking out some of this, taking out some of this, and balancing. So as we're healing, we explore the whole tree. We discover our lost parts, what's missing, and we try to reclaim that. We try to bring that piece in. And also, we're also looking at what we need to let go of. So we are remembering and reintegrating in order to re-empower ourselves. Okay, so strength is key in this process. The number 8, and here we see the snakes again, the serpents again, and here is the serpent as an ancient symbol for the healing process. And we see it, in the Western medical tradition. The AMA, their symbol is the snake crawling up the pillar. All right, next slide. So reclaiming soul, how do we do that? Okay, the Tarot has a lot of teachings embedded inside of it. And the next 4 slides are showing us how we can make a leap in the Tarot to heal something that is wrong, missing, lost. Okay, so the first slide here where it says a broken, this is the 5 of fire. It's called struggle. And the struggle in spirit is a loss of spirit. It is maybe a loss of faith. Okay, how do we work through that spiritual struggle? How do we walk through that? Well, we can leap 2 cards ahead to the 7 of fire. So this goes from the 5 to the 7. The courage to share our story. Okay, and that 7 is called courage. Okay, so a broken spirit is mended by leap, the courage to share our story. Because once we tell the truth about ourselves, about who we are, about where we came from, and we start to vocalize it, we start to verbalize it, the struggle begins to disappear. So this is in spirit. This is about our spiritual struggle. So our spiritual struggle comes into resolution as we speak our truth and tell our own experience. And we break out of our own cage by sharing our experience. Okay, next slide. A broken heart. This is the 5 of water, which is all about the broken heart. Okay, a broken heart, the grief, the loss, the suffering, the pain. This is emotional. The heart holds the emotion. A broken heart is healed by soul searching and new insight. Okay, so this is the number 5 up water. Leap 2 ahead to the 7 of water, which is called insight, and that can bring healing to the broken heart. Okay, so what we're doing in each case, the last 2 cases, is we're leaping from the 5, which is a place of cataclysm and breaking down, to the 7. And that 7 on the tree, in every case, the number 7 is about a vision quest experience that transforms us. So when we drop down into soul searching and seeking new insight, eventually we get the insight that starts to change the picture. And then we can start to reframe it, and we'll reframe it, and then we will begin to leap out of it. So the broken heart can be healed by the 5. I'll put it this way, the 5 can be healed by the 7. All right, 5 can be healed by 7. This is an example of one use of the tree of life and understanding the tree of life. Okay, next slide. The 5 of wind is called fear. Okay, what about our fear? What about fear stopping us in our tracks in a negative way? Okay, fear is addressed by entering into a conversation about the future. So that's the 7 of wind, and it's called many tongues. Okay, what if we share that what we're worried about? What if we enter into a conversation about it? And so, one of the things I like about this card, the Seven of Wind, which I didn't like that card in the beginning, Seven of Wind. I will confess that. Now it's one of my favorite cards, so that happens a lot. Pay attention to what you don't like and then see what happens, you know? So this has become one of my favorite cards now because it's called Many Tongues, and a way through all of the trouble, personal and collective. But I like the idea of collective fear and collective solution. So when we start entering the global conversation about what's happening, we can start to make tremendous headway, and then the fear can subside if we're looking for positive solutions. And what I love about this card, this conversing about the future, many tongues, it's Aquarius. It's like, okay, what about the Aquarius? I love the astrology on the card. I won't go into all the astrology on the cards, but I love this. We can think differently. What happens if we think differently? What happens if we explore outside the box? Because remember, the sevens are all about exploration, vision, quest, and transmutation. All the sevens require us to move outside and beyond the box that we think we know. Because if we keep working with the same, same ingredients, same recipe, we get the same results. Okay, the seven is going to take us outside of that. And that's where we want to go in a lot of cases in terms of feeling this soul. We need to get a new download, so to speak. Okay, next slide. So the next one is about our body, earth manifestation. Okay, this is the 5 of earth and the 7 of earth. So the 5 of earth, a shattered world. So first of all, what's a shattered world? Okay, shattered world, financial loss. It's a big one for us. Illness, even bigger. We think financial loss is the worst, but illness becomes larger. Okay, illness, natural disaster. It could be war, any of the things we're facing, a shattered world. Okay, how can we repair a shattered world? We can repair it by activating a new dream. So this is the 7 of earth. It's called the garden. It's about imagining a new garden, a new dream, a new way of being. And it can lift us up out of that entrapment that we feel in the five of earth, where our world becomes fragmented. Okay, now keep in mind that any of these five energies, for example, the five of fire, struggle, the 5 of water, broken heart, the 5 of wind, fear, and the 5 of earth, which is just all about this shattered world. It's called the nadir, but it's all about the shattered world. That any of those can lodge anywhere in our body. Any of these things that we feel and experience personally, back to those trauma symptoms, and it can be anywhere in our body. Okay, next slide. Okay, and here I put enlightenment. Now here's the sixes, because you were probably wondering, well, wait, where's the 6? It goes from the 5 to the 7. Okay, so here are the 6s, and this is in truth where we want to live from. But it's funny, I just had this thought and I put in a complication, because the 6s we want to live from. Here's fire, glory, make your offering to the universe, like offer what you can, because this is how we want to live ultimately. So we're talking about the trauma of the 5, leap to the 7 for the answer, go back to the 6 and give it out into the world, into the universe. Okay, so make your offering. And then same in the 5 of water, broken heart, 7 insight, go back and live in faith, all is in divine order. Okay, I'll do the last two and then I'm going to go back to the complication idea. But six of wind, fear into many tongues, okay, which is that conversation, and go back to the six of wind, clarity, and live this in perfect flow. That's the intellectual card. That's the card of consciousness. Six of wind, clarity, get clear mentally, because we're still talking about spirit, heart, mind, and body across these four cards. Earth, body. Okay, living the beauty way. This is where we want to live from. This goes from all of that five of earth trauma, the shattered world trauma, into leaping into the sevens, imagining a new garden, a new world, a new earth, and then leap back into the six and live that out, live that into the world. Okay, but why would that be a complication anyway? And it can be a complication. Here's the other side of it. It can be a complication because we can identify so much with the trauma that we experience that it becomes our life. And that's how we identify ourselves. So if we start to move out of that trauma and heal it, if we heal it, who are we becoming? Like sometimes we will cling to our illnesses. Okay, I don't want to blame the victim here. You must understand, I don't want to blame the victim. But I just want to point out that occasionally we will hold on to those wounds because they identify us, and they're so traumatic in our lives that they impact our thinking so much that we can't move beyond. Okay, so myself, I had this happen in my life about something, and it became my identity and actually changed my life for so many years. And this was, which I've told so many of you about it, and I got tired of talking about it, but I'm going to give it to you as an example, which was when I was in El Salvador. See, it's still hard to say. I was in El Salvador in the middle of the war, and it was very traumatic. That was like 1985. Okay, so in order to move beyond that, when I decided finally I was ready to release it, because there was a part of me I didn't want to release it, because it was showing me the way on so many levels, and it was so lodged in my body, and it felt like it was in every cell of my body. But eventually, what I wound up doing was a lot of soul retrieval work to go back and get pieces of myself that I left there. I survived, I survived. So get pieces of myself, bring them back into myself, and retool and make whole again, so I could learn, I could grow, and in some ways also leave it behind. It's like bloom where you are, bloom where you're planted, and yes, use it for your empowerment, not for your disempowerment. So that's moving the energies, how we want to move the energies. Okay, next slide. So the journey's complex, right? And the process may not be linear. I just gave you an example of a linear process, 5 into 7 into 6. That's linear, almost kind of leaping back into the 6. But it may not be that simple. It may not be that linear, but here's what we can do. So those of you who are really into tarot, you can focus on some place in your history, in your past, that you feel is lodged in your body. And you can feel that if you just ask yourself, what is it? Where is it? Or you can just draw a card. Am I experiencing some trauma that is in my body? You can draw a card on that. Somewhere lodged in my body that is blocking my energy, that is blocking me from moving forward, that is blocking me from my creativity, whatever it is. So here is where you can use the tarot to work through and work with whatever is happening with you and anything that might be lodged within you. Okay, and so right now, all we can do, because this process can go so deep, is all I can do right now is to make a suggestion. So I would say that you could pause, for example, on this slide as long as you want, all day, all night, all week, and just keep this slide in your consciousness and start working with the tarot around whatever trauma you may have experienced, a place where you felt your soul was diminished or lost, or pieces of your soul. Remember the moment. So I said here, close your eyes, intuit the moment, begin to remember. Did this event lodge somewhere in your body? So you create your reading around that. Okay, let's go, but we're going to go forward right now into the next slide because I just want to leave you floating with that idea. And I want you to come back to that after this is over. And I want you to work with that. Those of you who are deeply involved in tarot. Oh, also, of course, if you're a psychotherapist, if you're a Jungian analyst, if you on the shamanic path, any of these paths that you are on, you can also work with this with clients and work with tarot, and it's very, very powerful. Work with yourself or work with other people, and use it as a basis for your journey work, which we will come to in another slideshow. Okay, next slide. Okay, our journey, okay, for a guided journey, and this is for our next slideshow that I would like you to also to watch. And the slideshow is called Soul Retrieval Spirit Journey. And that video will actually take you on a journey and will end up with the tarot, where you can look at the tarot. But right now, this is all background that we're doing right now. We don't have time right now to go into the whole thing. So look at the next slideshow, Soul Retrieval Spirit Journey, and then you can go to the next level with it. Okay, next slide. All right, and here is where we're headed. This is what we want. We want to become the fully empowered Magus, number one. The number one in the major arcana, original being, creative being, vital being, not hurt or damaged anymore, but grown as a result of our wounding. And that's what is called post-traumatic growth. That's where we are headed, into post-traumatic growth and restored vital connection, a sense of belonging, not disconnect, a sense of wholeness. Okay, next slide. Okay, and here's where we are coming to an end. And this book that I wrote, Kabbalah and Tarot of the Spirit, is a book where you can look up a lot of the meanings of the tarot cards and go very deeply into the Western mystery tradition. This book is the Western mystery tradition as it relates to tarot. Okay, next slide. Okay, and again, here are the other two videos that I would like you to, if you're interested in this information. 2024, A Year of Strength, okay, which is on YouTube now, and Soul Retrieval Spirit Journey. And that is this information, but taken to the next level where we're actually going on a spirit journey together. And I will guide you into this spirit journey. All right. Okay, so this is the end of our video today, and I think there may be one more slide. Is there one more slide, or is that the end? Yeah, one more slide. Okay, so this is, yeah, so here are just some references, and you can look at www.tarotofthespirit.com for classes, and there's my email and a reference to my mother. You can look at her, if you like her drawings, by the way, if you're interested in those life drawings, she has a book called Nudes, and it's really beautiful. It is really beautiful, and it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So if you want more, there's more. All right, so here's where we end right now, and bless, 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 and do watch the next video on soul retrieval and the spirit journey. Okay, and yeah, thank you.